watching True Blue Review.
Yes. Yes, finally we're there.
We made it.
We made it. 6:20, goddammit.
Giants fans, it's week 1. Dallas Cowboys at Jerry's Stadium. The Giants, let's get it going. What do you think, Rich?
I'm fired up, man.
Give us some stats from last year, brother.
You know what, though? Before I do that, though, I watched that New England-Kansas City game last night.
Oh, man.
Fired up. That was a good first game of the season.
It was, man. It was a good
first game of the season. So, you want some stats? Is that what we're doing? We're talking about the games, like specifically.
Well,
like
hold on.
The games?
Hold on, stop. Why don't you start us off with a story? Tell them about it. Tell them about the story.
All right, so you notice I'm wearing my vintage Giants shirt, okay? So it makes sense because when the league started, I shouldn't say when the league started, because the league started back in like the early 20s, mid-20s, whatever, because Giants, I think, 26, something like that. But when they made an expansion, the Dallas Cowboys were an expansion team. And what they did is they wanted to go out and they wanted to get one of the best coaches in football. So what they did is they got Tom Landry. But what a lot of people don't know, a lot of Dallas fans don't know, these young fans, okay? They're all up on the Cowboys and everything, excited about it. But they don't know that Tom Landry used to play for the Giants and was the Giants' defensive coordinator between 1954 and 1959. And him and actually Vince Lombardi was the offensive coordinator. You can believe that? What a freaking team, right? So, but the Giants went to 3 NFL champions during that time frame. And when the Dallas wanted to start their franchise, basically they were looking around for the best talent, and they found Landry. They brought him on as the head coach. So really, basically, the Giants, I mean, they spawned the Cowboys. You know,
right, there you go.
They're the Cowboys' daddy. I mean, they are. I mean, when you think about the Cowboys in the 60s and 70s, you think about Landry.
Right.
I mean, you know, maybe like when it gets into the 70s, you start thinking about Staubach. But before that, you're really thinking about Landry. He's really the guy, you know? So, because he was a coach for like goddamn 30 years or some shit.
All right,
so, anyway.
Let's go over some stats. All right, so basically, all we've really got, first game of the season, we're going with last year's stats. We got 2 games against Dallas. So.
Yep. It's kind of hard because, you know, sometimes seasons don't translate into the next, but these 2 teams have kept a lot of the same players. Okay, there's been some changes. But I think that the premier players and the strength of the teams remains the same. So last year, let's talk about game 1 last year. There's 2 games, of course, every season they play against the Cowboys. They held Prescott, 227 yards, not bad, right? But he didn't throw any touchdowns. He didn't have any interceptions, but he only got 12 yards rushing. Okay, but they held Elliott to 51 yards and only 1 yard receiving. He did have a TD. Now, I was listening to some people talk the other day and they said, well, that was before Elliott was Elliott. And I'm like, well, when did Elliott become Zeke Elliott? You know, game 2? Because the Giants held him to 51 fucking yards in the first game. So that didn't count or something like that. The guy's the same guy. They had a great... Dallas has a great offensive line, okay? You put a guy behind that line and he's able to run. They were able to hold Elliott to 51 yards. Now we go to game 2, okay? And by the way, Giants won that game 2019. So game 2, they allowed 107 yards for Elliott, but he didn't get any touchdowns. He had no receiving yards. And Prescott, he only had 165 yards passing. He did throw a touchdown, but he had 2 picks, and he was sacked 3 times. And they were 1 for 15 on third down conversions for that game. And the Giants won 10-7 because, as you know, last year, the fans know, I mean, the Giants did not have a great offense. The defense won the games last year. And that's kind of a look back on what happened last year.
Sure.
And I think without a lot of changes, it's kind of predicting what's going to happen this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it should be noted, Des Bryant was not a factor at all.
No, not at all. I don't have his stats, but
yeah,
he wasn't a factor.
No.
Their passing game was not a factor. like I said, the first game they got 227 yards. I think Cole Beasley was more of a factor.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Than Bryant was.
Well, I mean, I was doing some checking in reference to the weaknesses of the Cowboys. For the most part, it's their defense. Mm-hmm. Primarily, I'd say cornerbacks and safeties, at least the secondary part of it. They, in reference to sacks last year versus the Giants, they were both pretty much the same, 35, 36 sacks. So I'm not really seeing anything impressive. I'd have to say, if you're going for strengths and weaknesses, their defense definitely tends to be their weakness. How do the Giants exploit that?
I don't know if they can, to be honest with you. Because their weakness is their running game and their offense. So their strength may be their passing game.
Right.
So you have to see. But then we don't know if Odell Beckham's going to play.
Right.
So that's kind of like, it's one of those things that's going to kind of get you thinking. Like, is Odell Beckham going to play or not play? Right. So that's going to be a question. Personally, I believe he's going to play. I don't know what kind of a factor he's going to be. I really don't know if the Giants are just faking the funk, so to speak, and just kind of putting it out there with the media to kind of throw off the Cowboys game plan. I don't know. I really never know the accuracy of what they report in the media. Right now he's questionable. He's not doubtful. He's questionable, which in my mind means he's going to play. But how hurt that he really is, because when the hit happened, you remember in preseason, the hit happened and he was pissed. He walks off the field. And then he seemed okay, but then when he gets back into like the secluded area between the field and the locker room, he's walking down the hall. He's like down. He's like hurting, man.
Yeah.
He looked like he was hurting.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was praying or if he was just pissed or what was going on, but it looked like he was hurting. And now they're saying it's a high ankle sprain. So it's kind of it's one of those injuries you just don't know about.
Right.
So I hope he plays. I hope he plays, because besides that injury, there really are no other injuries.
Not to relevant players.
Yeah, not exactly.
Not to relevant.
Not
players.
to anybody that's really relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one guy that they said was injured on the Giants. I don't even know the guy's name. I don't know who the guy is.
Right.
So, he's not relevant. And I didn't see anybody in Dallas that was hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Zeke's playing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that just segues right into the offense. I mean, as far as the strength for the Dallas Cowboys, obviously it's their offense. Ezekiel Elliott is playing, and Dak Prescott, obviously, both sophomores. Yeah. Are they going to hit a sophomore slump? Hey, I mean, that remains to be seen. That's kind of a little superstitious. Not really, I mean, the one thing you have to say is that this year, people aren't going to be so surprised with Elliott and with Prescott. No. So now everybody's got the footage.
Exactly.
Everybody knows their tells.
Right.
They're going to be able to game plan for them better. Mm-hmm. Okay.
No question. No question.
Offensive line is great.
True. It's been good for several years.
Yeah. And I mean, Des Bryant, he may actually. I'm kind of thinking that he's got something to prove against the Giants specifically, because both games last year he was a non-factor.
Giants secondary though is good.
Oh yeah.
So if he's got something to prove, so be it. Mm-hmm. And that's the game.
Yeah.
That's the game, right?
Yep.
So if he has something to prove it.
Yeah. I know. I agree with you. So in reference to the Giants defensive line, you've got JPP on one side, okay, and you've got Olivier Vernon on the other side. Do we expect a solid pass rush to this quarterback?
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about it. Pass rush, shut down the run, forget about it. A Giants defense, and we were talking about this last week, they're off the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Now, that being said, let me just say this, because some of the fans know, if you guys are just kind of in general football fans, maybe not just Giants fans, but last night as a football fan, I watched the Patriots game. Hey, they were talking in the offseason, some of the quote experts, about the New England defense being like the number one defense. I mean, that defense got crushed last night. Mm-hmm. It got smoked. But, however, I really don't don't look at the New England defense like I look at the Giants defense. The Giants defense has not lost anybody. It got strengthened. I'm gonna forget his name. But one guy did move on from the team. But he's filled in. I don't really think that there's much of a change on the defense. Hankins.
Yeah.
Hankins, thank you. You're the man. So Hankins is gone.
Right.
That's a loss because he was a great player. But Bromley's going to fill in there, and I think that we're going to be fine. The secondary to me is better. They're healthy. Mm-hmm. Like I'm saying, there's no injuries there. They're a healthy team. So I watched the preseason game. And I know the preseason, but I remember the third game specifically, because in the third game they play the primary team, they play the ones, so to speak, and they crushed, man. I mean, JPP, Olivier Vernon, they were off the charts, man.
Yeah.
You know, and like I'm saying, Landry Collins. Come on, he's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah. And Janoris Jenkins last year actually had a really good game. Against Dallas. Against
the Cowboys specifically.
Yeah.
Well, I think that in general, I think that the Giants are amped to play the Cowboys. I think that most teams get amped to play the Cowboys because they kind of... the whole idea of the Cowboys being America's team is kind of... I don't know about you, but it kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't think they're America's team. I think they're Dallas's fucking team. Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're not America's team.
Yeah.
You know, they're Dallas's team.
Right.
And you know what? I don't like the fact that people call them America's team. So I think that nickname plays against them in my mind.
Sure.
For the players, because they want to beat America's team. They want to beat that America's team.
Right.
You know. So and just in general, it's a divisional game. So anything goes.
So what are we looking at as far as this game goes? How do you see the outcome of the game, the flow of the game?
Very hard to predict, you know, because I'm watching the preseason. I'm thinking the Giants' offense is going to get better. To me, this is really similar to last year. This is the Giants' defense against offense. That's how I see it, especially since Zeke Elliott is playing. And they're going to have that running game because they got that great line. I think if they can, Zeke can get his yards, I think. You know, I don't know how many he's going to get, obviously, but I think that if they can contain Prescott and get to him, aggravate him a little bit, which I think they will, I think that they'll win the game. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that the offense can give them enough.
Right.
But I just do not know how to judge the Giants' offense right now.
Yeah.
I want to say they're going to be great. I want to say they're going to score 27, 30 points a game, but I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and without Odell Beckham playing, we don't know if he's going to play or not.
Right.
I'm just not really sure. Okay.
No.
But I still think that regardless if Beckham plays or not, it's Giants defense against the offense of Dallas.
Right.
That's how I see the game playing out. And if the Giants defense plays better, they'll win. If the Dallas offense plays better, they'll win the game.
Well, there you go, folks. I do want to give a shout out to Bobby, Ted, and Mr. The Hard Way. I'm not going to even answer that one. And I want to thank you guys for watching. We're looking forward to the Giants game this Sunday, and we're looking forward to another telecast next week. Thank you very much, and go Giants.
Awesome. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to pick the Giants. Because, listen, by the way, for all you fans out there, okay, I'm never not going to pick the Giants. It's not going to happen. I'm picking the Giants, okay? All right, awesome. Go Giants.
We're out.